Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. Okay, today's video is going to be a great one. We are going to analyse the BBC car crash interview by Prince Andrew, in which the BBC, for once, actually did a fairly good job of holding the elites to account, although they didn't go in for the knockout blow, but I certainly will. We will take sound bites and some of the video clips from the interview, and we will dissect them and read in between the lines. Wait until you see what I have to say about this. And it only gets worse for Prince Andrew, because even after this interview he has continued to make statements which just dig his own grave deeper and deeper and deeper. So let's get straight into this bombshell video. But first, by all means, if you haven't, by all means, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell and like the video, because that really helps me out. Okay, let's go.
How did you first become friends? How did you meet?
Well, I met through his girlfriend back in 1999, and I'd known her since she was at university in the UK.
So right off the bat, it is not looking good for Prince Andrew. He first states that he met Jeffrey Epstein through his girlfriend, and we know that Epstein's girlfriends, quote unquote, were the already groomed victims who would then go and procure other girls for the elitist men and the men of high society. And he also then digs the grave even for himself even deeper by stating that he met her whilst she was in university, which basically all but says that he met her while she was a student in education. She was a young lady, a student in a school, essentially.
And it would be, to some extent, a stretch to say that as it were, we were close friends. I mean, we were friends because of other people. And I had a lot of opportunity to go to the United States, but I didn't have much time with him. I suppose I saw him once or twice a year, perhaps maybe maximum of 3 times a year.
So he further states that he only saw Epstein on an irregular basis, which is of course what he would do if he is a high society elitist man travelling around the world for the purposes of indulging in what we shall call Epsteinism. Of course he didn't see Epstein on a regular basis. He would only see him when the desire arose.
I saw him once or twice a year, perhaps maybe maximum of 3 times a year, and quite often, if I was in the United States and doing things, and if he wasn't there, he would say, well, why don't you come and use my houses? So I said, that's very kind, thank you very much indeed.
Okay, reading in between the lines there, Epstein, who we know indulged on a regular basis for decades in what we have now coined the term Epsteinism, has offered Prince Andrew, the opportunity of quote unquote using his houses. Not staying in his houses. Bearing in mind, Prince Andrew has the wherewithal and the financial clout to stay in the most luxurious hotels anywhere on planet Earth. However, he decides to go and stay in Epstein's house, of all places. Bearing in mind that he didn't use the term staying there or living there. He used the term, his term, used Epstein's houses. What was he using Epstein's houses for? Think about it.
But he had the most extraordinary ability to bring extraordinary people together. And that's the bit that I remember, is going to the dinner parties where you would meet academics, politicians, people from the United Nations. I mean, it was a cosmopolitan group of what I would describe as US eminence.
He had the extraordinary ability to bring extraordinary people together. Now, extraordinary is a catch-all umbrella term, which we can read in between the lines to understand that he means he can bring extraordinary people together in the sense of extremely wealthy men and extremely impoverished victims to use in the manner they were used in Epstein's circle of Epsteinism. Not satisfied with digging the hole as deep as he has already, he continues to dig it further by throwing everyone else onto the fire that he has started. Because he's basically just told us who else attends these Epstein parties where Epsteinism is rife. We are told that there's politicians, there's people from the United Nations, although that doesn't surprise me in the least. There's entrepreneurs, there's artists, there's the establishment, the elite, the swamp. He's confirming everything we suspected, but he's doing it by the back door, of course.
And I wasn't in touch with him again until 2010. So it was one of those things that if somebody's going through that sort of thing, well, I'm terribly sorry, I can't be...
so no contact?
No contact.
When he was serving time, there was no call, no letter, nothing there?
No.
He was released in July. Within months, by December of 2010, you went to stay with him at his New York mansion. Why? Why were you staying with a convicted sex offender?
Right. I have always... ever since this has happened, and since this has become, as it were, public knowledge that I was there, I've questioned myself as to why did I go, what was I doing, and was it the right thing to do? Now, I went there with the sole purpose of saying to him that because he had been convicted, it was inappropriate for us to be seen together.
Now, you would have to be stupid to believe that cock and bull story anyway, but let's just put that aside for 1 second and focus on the fact that the terminology he used, yet again, can be read into. For example, he says that it would be inappropriate to be seen together because of his conviction. Not actually... we shouldn't be together, we shouldn't meet up, we shouldn't arrange to meet up, we shouldn't arrange to do this, we shouldn't arrange to do that, we shouldn't arrange to engage in Epsteinism. What he said was, if this story is even true, is that because of his conviction and because of presumably because of the media attention, it would be inappropriate to be seen together. Now, it's at this point that I would like to say that yes, Prince Andrew is innocent until proven guilty. I believe that very strongly, and I also despise people who make false allegations against people. However, I am merely describing what can be read in between the lines simply on Prince Andrew's car crash interview, which we are seeing, and it was a car crash interview, okay? I respect that he is innocent until proven guilty. I understand that. However, his connection to Epstein cannot be denied. And as you are about to see, he just digs his grave even further.
Friends and family I was talking to, and I took the decision that I had to show leadership and I had to go and see him and I had to tell him that's it.
That was December of 2010.
Yep.
He threw a party to celebrate his release, and you were invited as the guest of honour.
Oh, in 2010? There certainly wasn't a party to celebrate his release in December, because it was a small dinner party. There were only 8 or 10 of us, I think, at the dinner. If there was a party, then I'd know nothing about that.
You were invited to that dinner as a guest of honour?
Well, I was there, so there was a dinner. I don't think it was quite as you might put it, but yeah, okay, I was there at a dinner, yeah.
So, as you saw there, Prince Andrew has been caught out in a monumental lie. He first said that he went to Epstein after his conviction to say that we can't be seen together. Not that we cannot be actually together engaging in Epsteinism, we just can't be seen together. And that's my personal take on what he actually means, and that is backed up, by the way, with what you have just seen, in which he was invited as a guest of honour. This person he says is not his friend. This person he says he only met through his girlfriend, who, as we have already learned, was a procurer of victims, who they met herself as she was a student in a college. Well, apparently that is not true, because this man, Prince Andrew, was invited not only as a guest, but as a guest of honour, and this was after Epstein was released from prison for engaging in Epsteinism.
I'm just trying to work this out, because you said you went to break up the relationship, and yet you stayed at that New York mansion several days. I'm wondering how long...
But I was doing a number of other things while I was there.
But you were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay. I've gone through this in my mind so many times.
Okay, and you can hear by his laboured breathing. I'm not sure if you could hear it through the quality of this video. If you couldn't, then by all means go and watch the full-length video yourself. And in this segment, you can hear his breathing is very laboured and staggering. He's nervous, he's scared. And not only that, but in regards to the story he is just told, do you honestly believe that it was just a convenient place to stay, Mr. Guest of Honour, at the dinner of Jeffrey Epstein? Of course it wasn't. As I said very soon into this video, this man is a member of the British royal family. He could be hosted and feasted in any restaurant, in any hotel, 5-star or above, anything. He only had to ask. He could go there. He's a millionaire. He's landed gentry. He only needed to book it. But we have seen he deliberately seeked out Jeffrey Epstein.
Remember that it was his girlfriend that was the key element in this.
She's the procurer. In any organisation such as this where Epsteinism is practiced, they usually use a female such as Epstein's quote-unquote girlfriend to procure the victims.
Another guest was John Brockman, the literary agent. Now, he described seeing you there getting a foot massage from a young Russian woman. Did that happen?
No.
You're absolutely sure, or you can't remember?
Absolutely sure.
So John Brockman's statement is false?
I don't know Mr. Brockman, so I don't know what he's talking about.
But that definitely wasn't you getting a foot massage from a Russian girl in Jeffrey Epstein's house?
No.
It might seem a funny way to break off a friendship, a 4-day house party of sorts with a dinner. It's an odd way to break up a friendship. It's a difficult way of putting
it. That's a very stark way of putting it. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So he's been seen by an alleged witness allegedly getting a foot massage from a Russian young lady. Now, if that is true, that is pretty damning evidence. Now, I know that people can make up false statements, especially where they are driven by envy or spite or potential economic gain by selling stories, etc., etc. But a literary agent who is involved with the high society probably doesn't have much incentive to lie about this. However, you could say, in Prince Andrew's defence, what was the literary agent doing there himself? What leg does the literary agent have to stand on? Okay, he was there as well. So that's another angle that has to be taken into consideration. Now, I don't like to do videos slating the royal family. I was going to mention this sooner. I'll mention it now. Now I've remembered it. I'm actually pro-royalty. It's one of the last things left we have in Britain and England in particular that is a very thoroughbred connection to our glorious history. That being said, I do think a lot of they're certainly not above criticism, and they should not be above the law. Regardless of who you are, the law should apply to all. Although, of course, the high society, our so-called betters, often think that it doesn't apply to them. And I'm afraid to say, if you really think about it, justice in this country really depends on who you are and your status. It doesn't necessarily depend on what you've done. That's a very stark way of putting it, he says. Now, what did I tell you about terminology? You will often find the high society types, the elites, the swamp, as my American viewers would say. You would often find that terminology is a big part in how they operate their lives, how they go to sleep at night, telling themselves that they are good people. Now, in an attempt to keep this video at a reasonable length, I will stop there. I'm only halfway through the Prince Andrew car crash interview. If this video is well received, if you guys like it, and if you share it, I will make part 2 either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how well it is received, because I don't want to make this video an hour long or more, because I know you guys are busy and have lives to lead. I will also add that Prince Andrew hasn't made this any easier on himself, as after this car crash interview he has gone on to use a phrase that allegedly used a phrase that he probably shouldn't have used, and that phrase is well, put it this way, there is an African in the stick silo. I'm sure you understand what I mean by that. He has been caught out saying that, using the N-word. He's used the N-word. Okay? So we're throwing racism into the mix. So he's not doing himself any favours at all. If you like this video, by all means subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video if you want me to make part 2. Okay, thank you for viewing. Thank you to Jamie Stewart and the guys at English Resistance. Thank you to Mark O'Sullivan for your friendship, and I will see you again in the next one. Thank you, goodbye.